Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, fam. How are you? Good. Welcome to the mental house, because you know we get crazy up in here. With your host, Khadija. I want to let me make sure I get the Deborah. I want to thank you. Deborah sent me a question, family, and maybe some of y'all can help me out with this. Actually, I'd like for you to leave a comment and subscribe. Deborah from Rockford, Illinois, I believe it is, yes, sent me a question. Well, she sent us a question, basically. And the question was, what is the difference between a church and a cult? Wow. I'm going to say that one again. She asked me what the difference was between a church and a cult. And I find that very interesting because I can't wait to go in. As you guys can see, I also had my nephew over so he could complete this project with the um, backsplash. And as I told y'all in my last video, that I was really concerned with him and his girlfriend because I thought she was really off the chain, and she was showing me, from what I heard, it just seemed real high conflicting. So, of course, I'm going to come back and talk about that. But right now, I thought I'd address this email because, I've had it a couple days, like I said, and I just now saw it. So I want you to know, Deborah, I need to answer this for you. But before I can answer it, and I have to be in all fairness and all honesty, I can't do it like this. I need to put my raw head on. Okay? And that way, I don't have to worry about when I put my raw hat on, I'm under the blood. I'm under the protection. So I don't have to worry about if I'm hurting y'all feelings or anything. We even got to be conscious of it. It's just that it is what it is, and either you can handle it or you can't. Because I pretty much transform when I put this fucking hat on. Because, it needs to happen. So this is the mental house. Let's get down. In my opinion, and from my experiences, the differences between a church and a cult, most, wow, this is going to sound crazy, but it is what it is. Most black people, we have a cult. We follow a protocol that is all our own. There is so much craziness going on, just like in the big Catholic Church, except of course we have to put our own feel to it. So when you look at a lot of churches that are ran by the big organizations like a Catholic or a Lutheran organization, maybe even the Baptist, to some degree, I guess. When they all supposed to have big denominations that they have to report to, it's like a hierarchy, as of course you guys know. But somehow these black churches, especially the apostolic people, they get away with all types of shit. Like when they die, they just give their church to the kids, and the kids may not have been any kind of minister. And the congregation, the parishioners have no say or so over it. In fact, if you want to say something over, they'll tell you why don't you just leave? Okay? There was an incident that I'm aware of that the pastor died, and he had a daughter and a son that were serving as assistant pastors when he was alive. Now, the only thing is, the daughter had been in the church all her life, meaning, what they say, go out in the world and stuff. She never did that. She stayed in there, and pursued a church career. That's what I call it. Him, on the other hand, he came out to LA. He pursued, show business, and that didn't work out for him. So he's a pretty good guitar player. In fact, they all are pretty good musicians. So these two were assistant pastoring with one another, and it got real messed up. It got fucked up because, as you can understand, a man and a woman, it was very territorial. He wanted the position. He didn't want this woman to even be considered his rivalry or someone that he had to take second fiddle to. And it was just a whole, thing. So they were bumping heads even before the old man died. So when the old man died, he left the church in the hands. Remember, the son, he was like a prodigal son, because he came back after he had been in show business, been in California, been all over the place. And when the old man got sick, he came back. That's how it went. And pretty much everybody knew he came back to pretty much take over the church. Now he's trying to move up. He wants to be the pastor. So the daughter was taking offense to that, but that's just how it goes. Flash forward, the old man dies. The son takes over. He's got women lined up in the pulpit, at the altar, sucking his penis. Oh my God. This dude is actually so insane sexually that he took advantage of other women in the church. One even by decimating her asshole with a bottle, to the point where she has to have a colostrophe bag. Now, I don't understand why this person is still standing behind the pulpit. I don't understand why he still has followers. It's almost like Jimmy Swagger, who, I've sinned before you, Father. And it looks like he's got a bigger audience now than he had before then. So what makes us so crazy about leadership and religion? I have no idea, because really it's the politics of your soul. Because to me, in my opinion, it's just an innate compelling desire that you have to worship something. And so these people have taken advantage of that part of your brain and heart that needs to worship, and they have put themselves in there. So now you're worshiping all their entities before you can get to God. So it's making it a very difficult communication. And so most women and some men fall in love with the character, the imam or the preacher. And so it becomes a cult, in my opinion, because the pastor starts screwing the women in the church. That happens a lot in black churches. And so that's why I didn't understand what type of stance that the black church was taking when all this stuff came down from the hierarchy and from the Catholic Church. Because having sex in church with black folks is just like serving fried chicken dinners on Sunday. I hate to say it, but it's freaking true. So Deborah, in my opinion, the difference between a church and a cult is most churches that are sincere, you'll know it. The church, the preacher ain't trying to get all in your business like that. He's not trying to get under your clothes like that. And you definitely feel a sense of peace when you go in there, and you feel like people are on the same page, and you don't feel sexually threatened or intimidated or how do you say it, sexually sought after. When you go to an occult, the church, a black church, or a church that that has occult tendencies, what you're going to see is a lot of people trying to tell you what to do, how to do it, what you should wear, what you should not wear. They do all these things to gain control of your mind, which they already perceive it to be weak. And they'll probably love bomb you at first, tell you everything that's great about you and just love on you and shower you with all this stuff. And then they say, come on down and get baptized, you know, and be a part of this family, this church home. Everybody need a church home. And when you fall into that trap, the next thing you know, you'll be giving out all your money, and the pastor and the deacons and all them there, and they're fucking. You know you in an occult. Okay? So, with that being said, Deborah, I hope that makes a little sense to you. And I'll be back a little later, y'all. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.